So this past Monday, the federal Liberal government introduced their fall economic statement, and there was some new spending that was in there. There was also some re-announcements that were in there. So what we want to do is have a look at grading the government in terms of how they did and how this sort of precludes a March 2021 full budget.
Quite frankly, we're seeing a government that is confident, both politically and on a policy level, that continuing to view economic stimulus as a key part of its agenda, whether it's supporting business or supporting individual Canadians. And I think, frankly, until we've seen when we've seen needles going into arms, they're going to continue doing that. I think it's something that they feel quite confident in having public support behind.
And you're right. We're right now in unprecedented times, and hopefully we never have to live through something like this again. So governments of all stripes and provinces and at the federal government are trying to move as quickly as possible on everything that they're doing. And some of it they get right, and some of it they don't get as right. And hindsight is 2020, as we all know.
A very telling moment was immediately after the Freeland had given the speech, and you had the NDP response to it, which was to accuse the government of austerity, which was met by some more than audible chuckles in the audience of the House of Commons.
Opposition parties are there to oppose. That's their constitutionally and parliamentary tradition job. Obviously, you would like to see pertinent and constructive criticism, and I think you saw that from the Conservatives and the Bloc, and then I think the NDP unfortunately discredited themselves with that claim.
But with Erin O'Toole trying to position the Conservatives potentially in a more economically populist direction, I do think it's interesting how he specifically spent so much of his time in the response to the fall economic statement talking about his concerns about the government's vaccine rollout. The government certainly takes that issue very seriously, and it'll be interesting to see in the coming months to see if expectations meet reality and when we'll start to see needles actually going into arms. And
the point that the Conservatives are trying to make is, people need certainty, and people are scared, and we just need to be able to give them more distinct and more comforting answers. And I think that's the tactic they're trying to use is, guys, can you please give them more certainty? Can you give them some comfort as we are now into December, going into the Christmas season?
The one thing that I think industries should be cognizant of is that the federal government is sending a very strong signal that they're not going to be turning the taps off any soon. Businesses should, I think, take a very strong signal that regardless of perhaps the effectiveness or the efficacy of some of these programs, there are going to be continued attempts by the government to pursue a stimulus-based strategy, I think at least for the first half into 2021.
As far as businesses, industry, and our clients are concerned, is that right now governments, both provincial and federal, are for lack of a better word, obsessed with COVID, and as they should be, and that's what there's only 24 hours in the day, and that's what they're concentrating their efforts on. So there's a lot of other government business that is taking a back seat or has been delayed